why is it so important to consent to God's presence in our suffering? That's the first question.
Yeah, so that's language from Jacques Philippe's book, Interior Freedom, which I really like that book. It was really influential on me. And he says that when something goes wrong, we usually do two things. One is we rebel, or resign to it. And the rebel is sometimes it's like, let me fix that. It's not that wrong. I'm going to, or it could be rebel in like coping mechanisms. Like I'm going to make myself feel better because something went really wrong. This could be the death of a friend. It could be not getting a promotion. It could be lots of different stuff. So sometimes we will just rebel against the thing going wrong. The second way he says is sometimes though, and I see this actually as people age. I wrote another book actually on the topic of retirement, but as resignation, is people just say, well, this is the way the world is. You know, life's hard. What you going to do about it? And I actually see people start to disengage from work or community, and they just sort of live resigned lives, lives of quiet desperation, as Thoreau would say. I think the magic is what Philippe is saying, is that consenting to God's presence in our suffering is important, is that you sort of lay your suffering before God and you say, I'm either going to rebel against it nor fix it, nor I'm going to resign, but I'm going to say, I think you can be in it as you are a crucified Savior, and that you can work this in a way that can transform me. And when we start to look directly at some of the deepest wounds and the most difficult things in our life, we say, God is here now, and I'm not going to take it back into, level 5 and go achieve all the things I want to, but just sit with it for a while, then God is here. I think that's when the Spirit really tends to do some of his best work. So I think that consent piece, this is language also from the welcoming prayer, from Thomas Keating's welcoming prayer, where we sort of recognize what's going on in our life, and we sort of will say, I welcome this moment as it is, and I'm going to just step back from my need for security, affection, and control, and I'll consent to God's presence to me in this moment. I think that word consent is a powerful one, because I think it says two things at least. One is that it says God is already initiating with us right now in this moment. To our listeners on this show, God is initiating something within us, right? Do we then, number two, do we consent to his transformative power in this moment, here and now, right? So whether it's Frank Laubach or Brother Lawrence or practicing the presence, right? There are people that have done this work to say, God is initiating, and I want to consent to your work. I think when we look at our suffering, we don't flee from it. We don't cope. We don't do the Netflix thing forever. We don't do 1,000 different things to keep ourselves busy, but we say, this is hard. I'm going to sit with people that I love. It is the Job and the friends that should have just sat with him in the ashes. That's actually where I think the magic is. Just sit in the ashes for a while. Jesus is good at bringing resurrection from ashes, but oftentimes we'll think, let me just clean up these ashes myself. I'm on it. And God says, well, if you don't invite me into this, I won't be in this. So I think that consent thing is important.
What made you put that in a book on vocation?
Yeah. So broad topic. This is a book on vocation and faith and work, right? For us, the word vocation in our society, or even sort of in the subculture, I think it really ended up being something about job choice. What type of work should I do, or what do I feel most able to do or excited about doing, where I can have the biggest impact? I don't think the word vocation belongs principally in the context of job choice, though there is good historical reasons why that is. I think it belongs mostly in the category of spiritual formation, because vocation is about listening to God's voice. It's responding to God, the voice, the vocare, right? The voice of God in all these areas of our life in the moment to moment. Your ability to listen and to respond to the Spirit in the moment is the essence of vocation. That is really what vocation is. It's not so much about whether you should take this job, or this job, right? And those are important, right? But you may actually need to develop the muscle on listening to God's voice with, my dog ate the donuts yesterday and I got really angry. My kids got a little frustrated at everybody. Like, in that moment, where is God? So here I preach to myself. My dog did eat the donuts yesterday and I was ticked off. This is not a hypothetical one, but man, I was not happy with Milo the dog at all.
What kind of dog is it?
Oh man, yeah, he's a golden doodle that over time became a little scrap You give him a little scrap and a little bit more, and then he thinks it's his duty to jump on the table when we're gone and eat my kids' donuts, which made one. So
My
in that
dog does
moment,
the
I
same
was,
thing, just so you know. My dog does the same thing.
well, and so I'm doing this, and my daughter made these donuts, and the dog ate it, and like I'm a dad with 4 daughters, so I'd kind of do I get angry. Like, you just offended or hurt my daughter's feelings. I'm gonna beat you. I didn't actually beat him down for your listeners. I didn't actually, but I certainly trimmed the candle for the night, right? But in that moment, right, back to your friend Jim Wilder, like, gosh, where's the mission of God now? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? All the kingdom is what we're called to invite into. How can I get to the point where, wow, I can hear God's voice and respond in a mature and patient way in that moment? So my kind of prayer practice right now is love is patient, love is kind. You were asking about the word vocation. Vocation is about spiritual formation. It's a spiritual formation that then does influence our public life. So a guy named Michael Ware, for instance, he has done lots of stuff on faith and public life. I don't know if you had him on the podcast, but he's doing a fellowship, and his fellowship that looks wonderful, but it's on spiritual formation in politics and those in politics. It's because it's those types of hard things inside of us. That's where the battle is truly there, right? And then we'll let God do the battle in culture. That's I think where the big growth curve for the church in the world needs to be, is to become like Christ.